Welcome to the Mayor's Update for November 2014. I'm Megan Pembroke, Communications Director for the City of Everett. Each month we sit down with Mayor Ray Stephanson to talk about issues and projects that are important to you. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. It's that time of year where there's not a lot of daylight.
Yeah, it's getting pretty gloomy out there.
It is and the rains are upon us, so I guess we'll have to wait till June, right? So.
Well, Mayor, before we get started today, I just wanted to take a minute. At the end of last month, we were all really shocked and saddened by the shooting at Marysville Pilchuck High School, and I know we sent a number of people up there, and you've been talking with leaders in that community. So I just wanted to give you a minute to reflect on that and share kind of some of our response.
Well, first of all, our deepest condolences to really the Marysville and Tulalip communities, and particularly the families that were directly impacted. It's just unimaginable to me that anything like this can happen. We hear about it, and I think as I've thought about it, and I think the sheriff has reflected this, that we may never know the why. But I think it's so important that we support one another, that we're there for one another, that we're able to talk about these issues and let our young people talk about them and express their concerns and just be there to hold them. And I've talked to Chairman Williams of Tulalip, Mayor Nearing, other tribal leaders, let them know that City of Everett and me personally is there for them if anything that they need. Our first responders were on the scene just minutes after the call to 911. In fact, I talked to Mayor Nearing, and he had said to me that he saw, before he got the call, he actually saw a couple Everett police cars from his office, and he thought, gosh, that's odd, and why are they going so fast? And then he got the call. So our response was very supportive, both our law enforcement, our paramedics, and other emergency management folks. And we continually are there for them if they need support. I know they're working probably a lot of long hours, and if they need us to cover for them, we're there for them. But it certainly does, in our professional life and our personal life, it's just, you sort of pause, and obviously we all think about our families, and we all want to hope and believe that schools are a safe place for our kids. I know there's probably a lot of fear among families. I've got 2 grandkids in school, and this kind of stuff just it's scary. But it's incumbent upon all of us to do everything we can, try to learn from what's happened in terms of how we respond or how we prepare for this. I was awfully proud of all the people who provided services. I think our Providence Medical Regional Center with support of Everett Clinic, just incredible. I thought they did an incredible job with the communication and the care, and then all of our first responders as well did a great job in a very tragic situation. So,
thank you for that, Mayor. I know it's still on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
Well, shifting gears, this month is the last month of the Community Streets Initiative effort. This is an effort we've been talking about since the beginning of the summer, and they'll be issuing their final report and their recommendations for the community and really beyond our borders. I know you've been following it really closely and talking with people who are involved. Can you give us an update on that and what you think the important next steps are going to be?
Sure. Well, I really, I know these 23 citizens and then a lot of citizens who participated by being there and listening have given their heart and soul to this issue. And maybe just as a reminder for our viewers, I think we started really beginning to see over a year ago a real influx and increase of homelessness on our streets. And I still think even in this improving economy, the one thing I continually read that really hasn't recovered are the jobs, even though our unemployment is low. And I think that's confusing sometimes to people, but a lot of people have fallen off of the unemployment rolls, and a lot of the folks that are on our streets, maybe who have a criminal background, I mean, it's just very, very difficult to find meaningful work to be able to support yourself and find housing. And I know the study also talked about those who are spending 30% or more of the income they have on housing, and what a challenge that is. And I think we can only imagine how tough it is. But I really think this committee has done, and I've followed it, and I've seen some of the preliminary recommendations. We'll get the full recommendations this month and begin to take action at the city. But maybe just a highlight of some of the things that we're going to see. I think there is an understanding that we probably have a dozen or so real chronic users of service. We see them on 911 calls, for paramedic calls, and for police calls. The emergency rooms are seeing them. They're people who are really in a terrible cycle in their life, oftentimes through alcohol and drug abuse, but also mental illness. And we're spending an awful lot of money and resources in trying to deal with that situation. But the problem is, and I think the committee has recognized this, we need to take a special focus on those folks to get them the help and treatment they need. And in the long run, it's going to be cheaper than continually responding and having them continually show up at the hospital. And we've taken one chronic user as sort of a test case, and so far, getting that person the help that they've needed, it's really made a positive difference. So there'll be a special emphasis there. Aggressive panhandling is already outlawed in the city of Everett. Some cities have completely outlawed it. There certainly, I think, are some risk of legal challenge from that perspective, given the history that we've read. But we're going to be more restrictive in where panhandling can occur. And we will be bringing an ordinance forward that makes it illegal to panhandle in intersections. It's dangerous. It's a distraction for the public safety. And so we'll be taking action in that regard. The county is looking at a facility right now for prisoners coming out of the county jail or individuals who have been arrested, or maybe a warrant out for their arrest or done something and been sentenced, that there'll be a transition facility. And the county recognizes the issue, and we are supportive of that as well. We also will, once we get these results and we sort of take some of the immediate action that we're going to need to take, David Hall, who's the deputy city attorney, really will be charged with taking these recommendations and over the coming months, and I suspect the coming years, really working with the county and other cities around the county to look for more long-term solutions to these problems. Let me give you one that just really stands out in my mind. Looking at available places for people to sleep and get off the streets, you know, that it's a number of where we're able to handle, a few hundred folks in that way. But if you look at the need, over 5,000 people are in a situation where they can't find adequate housing. And so we are, I think as a community, collectively, we need to find a way to get them off the street, keep them safe. You know, it's a terrible social problem for our community. Our community doesn't feel safe when there are people sleeping in doorways, or they're trying to get into the library and they feel threatened. And I feel very strongly that that is just unacceptable behavior in terms of all of our citizens in the community, and we've got to be able to deal with that. So I've said this before, but just to sort of summarize, I really want to take a balanced approach to this, where enforcement is needed, where we can do alternative sentencing that gets people who have been sentenced out cleaning up our streets, for example, and some of the areas where they've littered. I mean, I think that makes sense. And where there are folks that, if we could get them the mental health treatment or the drug or alcohol treatment or programs, you know, we'd be going a long way to dealing with some of this. And then sort of the larger issue, and one community shouldn't be the only community that stands up and deals with the homeless issue. This isn't an issue where one community passes an ordinance and they just push the homeless down to the next community, and then they pass something and they push it to Everett. That's, in my view, is just unacceptable. We've all got to be part of that bigger solution. And that's going to take some time. It's going to take some resources. I think there are grants available. I think the state needs to help. I think the federal government needs to help. But we collectively need to get our arms around this and solve this problem. And I think this Streets Initiative is really a very positive first step. A lot of hours, a lot of volunteer time by community leaders have stepped forward and put their best effort forward, and gosh, can't thank them enough. It's been a lot of work.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get an update on aerospace and transportation.